Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett's take on this wonderful Tuesday. Let's get started. I promised last time that I'd be going over my predictions for the playoffs if my record predictions end up coming true. So, based off my predictions, in the AFC, start with the AFC, you would have second seed Kansas City facing seventh seed Cleveland. I actually feel like this would be a horrible mismatch for Cleveland, and Kansas City should win easily. I don't think they have to get off to a rough start and come back in order to get a huge win here. I have them winning 41-14, something like that. And then the next one is you got 3 Indianapolis versus 6 Tennessee. So they're both in the same division. I have them splitting each game in the regular season. So this would be pretty interesting. I feel like because Tennessee can kind of wake itself up and just naturally play better in the playoffs than they do in the regular season, because their style of play with just running the ball, Derrick Henry stuff works really well. I feel like Tennessee can get the upset here, but it'd be a very close game, like 20-17, and like Indianapolis like may miss like a tying field goal or something like that. So Tennessee's lucky run in the playoffs will continue like they did last year. And then you got 4 seed Buffalo versus 5 seed Denver. Now, even though Denver has the better record by one game, I actually feel like this game will be easy. Now, Denver is used to the cold weather, so that part of it, playing in Buffalo, won't really matter. But it'll be a first game for a quarterback who would have only had played one full season before, and and all their weapons and stuff. For the most part, they're pretty much young. They don't have a lot of experience on a team. Well, I guess Buffalo's so young as well. They were just there last season, and they've been there, done that. So I feel like this big game where Buffalo could take advantage at home, and they would win with this by like 11 points or something like that, like 21, like 27-16 or something like that. So then, moving on to the next round, you would have 1 seed Baltimore taking on 6 seed Tennessee. So that would be a rematch of last year's playoff game, and I feel like Baltimore will get the revenge. I feel like Lamar Jackson will finally get over the hump of being a joke. If he were to lose this matchup again 3 years in a row, losing early in the playoffs, and that's a serious problem for Baltimore. But I feel like in a low-scoring game, Baltimore will finally be able to figure it out. But they would only win by 2 points, though. I haven't scored like 23-21, so super little close game. They would just barely win. So then you have 2 seed Kansas City versus 4 seed Buffalo. Now this would be a tougher matchup for Kansas City, but a little bit of a closer game. I still automatically favor Kansas City by a touchdown, but again, closer game where Buffalo could be a sneaky team there. And so then you have 1 seed Baltimore versus 2 seed Kansas City. Again, another close game here, but I have Kansas City going to Baltimore and getting the upset because Patrick Mahomes has shown he's more clutch than Lamar Jackson. So I give Kansas City a 4-point edge there, like 28-24. So I have Kansas City winning the AFC. Now moving to the NFC, I have 2 seed San Francisco versus 7 seed Philadelphia. Now this would be a pretty interesting matchup, but I feel like since San Francisco defense is really good and Wentz, kind of like against really good defenses, he doesn't tend to perform that well. But then also, since it's the end of the season, he's probably not even playing. Let's say if it's a rookie Jalen Hurts playing, then it's just not going to turn out well for them. So I have San Francisco winning by 13, 27-14, although I could see it being more. Then I have 3 seed Dallas versus 6 seed Tampa Bay. So Dallas versus Tom Brady. This would be a very interesting matchup, but because Dallas' secondary especially is going to be a little bit weak, and Tampa Bay has all those offensive weapons, despite what Tampa Bay's defense does, I feel like Tom Brady plus I feel like he will outperform Dak, and they would win by a touchdown. I have this final score 35-27. I would expect that one to be a very offensive game. And then I got 4 seed Minnesota versus 5 seed Seattle, and this would be a very tough matchup here. Very close game. I feel like Seattle, because of Russell Wilson, I trust him more than Kirk Cousins, even though Kirk finally won a playoff game on the road last year. I mean, Russell Wilson's better, period. So I have Seattle winning 24-21, a close game there. So then you got 1 seed New Orleans versus 6 seed Tampa Bay. This was a very tough matchup here. Expect this to be another game of fireworks. I have them both split in the regular season. But since it's in New Orleans, I feel like this is finally the year for the Saints to not get upset early, make a run. I have Saints winning in a close one, 37-34. And then I got 2 seed San Francisco versus 5 seed Seattle. So I had them split in the regular season. and this would be a very interesting matchup here. And I was hoping Seattle would have this matchup last year in the playoffs to see what happens because both games against San Francisco, like, they played them really tough. But I actually feel like Seattle will get the upset here, and they'll win 23-21 in a very close game. So then you have a New Orleans versus Seattle NFC matchup, and I would have the Saints favored by a touchdown. Could be closer, but I feel like New Orleans is more of a complete team than Seattle, though. And they're really good. New Orleans really good at stopping the run, which is what Seattle loves to do. So then you have New Orleans winning the NFC. So then you have a Super Bowl of New Orleans versus Kansas City, which will be an offensive fireworks show. But it was really tough for me to pick because it'd be nice for Drew Brees to win that game because he's most likely going to retire for the season either way. So it'd be nice for him to go off as a winner. But again, Pat Mahomes in that offense, I feel like would be too much for the Saints defense. So I would have Kansas City favored by a touchdown, like 38-31. So that would be my playoff scenarios if my regular season predictions came true. So now going on to other news, I want to discuss what happened back Friday with NBA Commissioner Adam Silver and his discussion with all the NBA players. He laid out a couple things that I wanted to go over. There's four main points that he said that stood out to me. So the first point is that the season would resume with the playoffs. This makes sense and is totally obvious. It doesn't make sense for teams like New York and Atlanta, who are not going to make the playoffs, to travel all the way to a neutral location site to play 10 games or so when there's no reason to because they're not going to make the playoffs or anything. Now, there's people who argue about the teams that were in the 9th spot or maybe 10th spot that could have, with a few games, could sneak into that 8th spot. But my argument for that is, well, they should have they should have done their best at the beginning of the season, so that way they would be able to be in the position like Memphis was with the 8th seed or Orlando was with the 8th seed versus teams trying to fight back in. So that's why I feel like it would be fine to just start with the playoffs because no matter if a team like, so let's say Washington Wizards ends up sneaking past Orlando Magic for that 8th seed. Either way, they're going to get swept, if not lose in the first round, so it doesn't really matter. Now, the second point is, speaking of fans, Adam Silver said there wouldn't be any fans for the playoffs, which I totally understand that, and that makes sense. That doesn't come as a shock at all. Now, what he did say that came as a shock to me is that he said to prepare for no fans to start next season, if that next season were to start at Christmas time. That surprised me a lot because because in my opinion, yeah, we don't know anything, but it's like you hope that by December things are getting better to where we get fan stuff again. But if he says to expect fans to start off without fans next season, that's a message to LeBron and all the players who want fans. It sends a clear message that they're really cautious and they're going to be careful with this coronavirus thing. They're not going to be too risky. So the third point is they're going to have 2 neutral locations for the playoffs for the West teams in Vegas and then for the East teams in Orlando. I'm fine with both. I'm fine with having 2 neutral location spots. Now, if all the teams had to come to Orlando or all the teams had to come to Vegas, that'd be tough. But since you have, this location for the East teams or this location for the West teams, I feel like it's perfect. Vegas is a perfect neutral location for the West teams. And then for the East teams, there's a few neutral locations you could pick up, but Orlando is just fine. It's perfect. It's a fine neutral location. And since there's no fans anyways, it doesn't really matter where it is. And then the last point is that he would still do 7-game series for all the rounds. I thought this point was very interesting because originally I thought, well, since you missed out a lot of time, I thought you start the first round with a 5-game series and maybe second round 5-game series before you stick with 7-game series. Maybe in the first round you just do 3-game series, something like that. But apparently he's fine with doing 7-game series because since none of the teams are going to be traveling, they can be able to play back to back. I do have a few concerns with this one though because I know the players have been getting rest, so they should be rested to play like back to back games. But the problem is that's exactly what they've been doing. They've been resting, so they're going to be, even though they would get like a month or so of training before starting the playoffs again, they're going to be really out of shape and things are going to be really sloppy to start off, if not all the way through. But at least to start. I think they're going to get really sloppy. So that's my concern there. But then also, I feel like at least for the first round, it should be like a 5 game series or something like that because yeah, Denver versus Houston would be a good first round series, but Lakers versus Grizzlies is not. Bucks versus Magic is not a good first round series. So instead of wasting time there, it's just like make that a 5 game series. But but again, I understand if it's like Denver versus Houston um, or like Miami versus Philadelphia or something like that in the first round, because those rounds you want those to be kind of 7 games. But again, I feel like it should be 5 games because also while this is a very unique season, this is the perfect opportunity to try something new. So, like for example, the next season will most likely start at Christmas time, and that's going to be something new. And then if that works out, I feel like they'll just start NBA season during on Christmas Day every single time, which I'm a big fan of. So this would be their chance to try something new. Um, but but it's up to the NBA commissioner on that. So those are my takeaways from what the NBA commissioner said. So that's my show for this week. For today, tomorrow I'm going to be going over um, my top 10 NBA players currently who played this past season. And some honorable mentions there. And I'm also going to go over other news like what President Mark Emmer of the NCAA said about college football this season and about other football news as well. So thank you very much for listening to my show today. And you guys have a wonderful day.